Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 171 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded February 18th, 2019.
My name is Ian. I'm a target shooter, reloader, hobby farmer, and the token Westerner on the panel.
All right, I'm Marty, hunter and sports shooter in rural southern Ontario.
And I'm Liberal Tim. I am a recovering libertarian, a competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical. Oh, wait, no, I'm filling in for that guy. I'm just a standard run-of-the-mill liberal.
Yeah, unfortunately, the news came out today about Gerald Butts resigning, and Andrew just was not able to console himself enough to make it on the podcast tonight.
He just couldn't even, I guess, as the teenage kids would say.
Yeah, he's taking it even rougher than you thought he would, Marty. Anyway, we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of the show is available on Stitcher and at iTunes. You can leave us feedback there also.
All right, and as always, you can find the podcast on the internet at both the Facebook and the Instagram.
We need your help to support the show. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. The more you pledge, the better the rewards are. Sure you're not a communist? Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage. Follow the link on the right.
Arrowhead Coffee is owned and operated by Canadian Armed Forces veterans. They love our country, the true north, strong and free, and their family and friends. Join Arrowhead Coffee on their hunt for the perfect brew to raise morale and bring that feeling of home to you no matter where you are. A portion of all profits helps Canadian Armed Forces members, veterans, and their families. And Arrowhead Coffee brings us my favorite segment of the show. What are we drinking? So, Ian, what are you drinking this evening?
More of that Venezuelan rum that I first took to the show here when I first came on. So I'm just drinking it straight. So harsh and intense, just like the failure of communism.
Marty, what are you partaking in?
I have whiskey tonight, so it's Oban 14 and water.
Oh, okay. I'm drinking 40 Creek Copper Pot with reverse osmosis water. Do you have any chemicals in your water, Marty?
I just don't put them in to begin with.
Oh, okay.
So it's an interesting concept. Instead of
tough frogs.
All that good.
Yeah.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah.
We're having difficulty with some interwebs tonight.
I'm a bitch.
Yeah.
No, you're back.
Yeah, this is gonna be one of those nights, I think.
Yep. But your water's good.
Water is good.
Yeah. All right. I guess that takes us into the news. The first story we're going to be covering this evening is the Gerald Butts resignation as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's principal secretary. Article was brought to us by the CBC News, but this is on all the news kind of websites. Just recently, this is hot off the presses kind of thing.
Well, first of all, I think that the title of that news article is way too long. It should have just read Gerald Butts resigns as Prime Minister.
Yes.
And then just got rid of the rest of those extra words there. But, because, I mean, let's face it, like I think I was saying pre-show there, I think the bulk of the speeches that Justin Trudeau has said have been written or heavily advised by Mr. Butts to the point where I think other than and ah, they all came out of Butts' brain, not Trudeau's. Sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, Butts has always been, perceived to be the puppet master of the show. So him resigning, does that change any of that? I don't know.
Well, I think, yeah, because first of all, why do rats leave a ship? And we've had a couple big resignations the last few days. Obviously, he doesn't think this is something you can overcome easily, and I don't think he wants to get caught up in anything right now. So that's just my theory as to maybe my tinfoil hat theory as to why he's leaving right now.
Oh yeah, so I'm not, and I think we can get into that as well in terms of the reasoning behind stepping down. But does that change his ability to be the puppet master?
Well,
or this could just be a for show, and could be him trying to leave a sinking ship or him trying to divert the blame.
well, I think between the interwebs and texting and everything else, yeah, I'm sure he could tell his friend whatever he wants, but there's still going to have to be somebody with even closer access that everything's monitored when you're the prime minister. I mean, comings and goings of pretty much everybody is recorded and monitored. So if he's just stepping down in name only, you're going to know. I guess it depends on where he's living too after this.
Yeah, are we gonna have to pay to get him moved again, or what?
Another was it $60 million or $65 million we paid to move him from Toronto to Ottawa?
I think it was 1,000.
Well, they'd have to cover real estate.
76,000.
Yeah, real estate fees, moving costs, everything else for sure. So I mean, that if they got paid $65,000, be getting off pretty cheap because that's what they pay for the average armed forces member to actually move from place to place, minimum.
Yeah, 65,000 was back, so that was it. That was what was deemed to be in excess.
Okay. I liked McLean's headline that they ran with. It was the hole that Jerry Butts leaves behind. It was penned by pen. Yeah.
But the hole that he leaves behind will be quite large.
Gaping even.
Yeah. Call it gaping.
Yeah, but he'll still be in charge until September.
So
the hole he leaves behind.
I think there's initially my first thought is this is Rat fleeing a sinking ship. He doesn't want the upcoming failures of the next election, or perhaps some more stuff that's about to come out. Some more, there's been some rumors about more MPs and more issues coming up. So, could be that he's trying to flee a sinking ship. My concern is that this is a similar tactic to what was done here in Ontario, where, right before the election, in that case, it was McGuinty. They had him step aside, put all the blame on him, and then ran Kathleen Wynne. And anything that you said that was, all of this failed policy, all of these failures that they'd had over the years with McGuinty, they said, well, that was him. This is Kathleen. And it wasn't until after the election that it was her signature on everything.
But that's a elected leadership post versus an appointed post. So I mean, it's pretty hard to say that the guy we appointed is to blame and then turn right around and say, "But if you elect me again, I promise I'll appoint somebody better this time." So it's a little different, I think. But
it's a little different. But I see this in a similar thing where he's trying to take the blame and say that he's no longer there anymore, and then that leaves Trudeau as say, "Oh, he knew nothing about this. I didn't know this was going on. We'll put measures in place that this won't happen again."
Yeah, you think they'd wait until, if that was the case, though, they'd probably wait until he was actually charged or convicted of something to step down, or well, at least charged, I guess, rather than just walking away with nothing more said, because they're obviously clamping down this as hard as they can.
Well, the fact that he's stepping down, like, did they not take a family day on the Hill?
Is that a nationwide thing, or is that vary by province?
Yeah, that's provincial.
Yeah, it's provincial. Okay.
There's other provinces that have family day, but it's not it's by province kind of.
Yeah. See, I was thinking that this was like, I was still thinking of this as kind of Sunday. So I was thinking, like, what were they doing? What was he doing resigning on a Sunday? But it was a holiday. And I was wondering what the hell tomorrow was going to bring. But
I think
it looks like a pump and dump.
You definitely hit the nail on the head that it's intentionally done on a holiday when people are not really watching the news. So Family Day may be an Ontario specific thing, but there's a holiday today across most of the provinces.
Yeah. And not just because Gerald Butts resigned.
Just a happy coincidence.
Yes. Yeah. He's just icing on the cake. But
Now, the bigger question is what's ultimately going to happen with this whole. Is it? I always forget. There's like SNC Lavalin or whatever. It's Quebec company.
Yeah, well, I think it's gonna be months before all this stuff comes out. By then, it'll probably get washed over until after the election, is my thought. But it seems to have been buried pretty good for the last little while.
It's pretty early. I think this will come out pretty clearly before the election. Like, this is not.
Like, when the new attorney general got appointed and immediately said that he would not be doing an investigation into this, I kind of thought that was going to end it. That was going to be the end of this, in terms of, the opposition would harp on it as another sort of failure of Trudeau, but I kind of thought that'd be the end of the public perception of this. But now that this is going on and it's still going on, I think you might see this kind of be a big issue for the election.
But what I like is this, of course, is like anyone who listens to us knows, like follows politics probably, and it's like this is exactly the kind of shit we were hearing all through the 2015 election. Like, it's just like, oh, not like the scandal-laden conservatives. We're going to be an open and transparent government, and we're going to do this and that. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm pretty happy to have a nice big scandal blow up on an election year. But
yeah. And I mean, when you think of the conservative scandals, I mean, it was the Duffy, and we're talking, tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Which, grand scheme of things, like, that was a nothing scandal compared to the Liberal scandals.
Yeah. Yeah. Gerald Butt can't even move his butt for like that amount of money. Like, that's just...
Yeah. You can't even get from Toronto to Ottawa for that kind of money.
Yeah. Yeah. I lose more than that running for the bus.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. It's like this government has just been one failure after another.
Well, yeah, and to think that it like followed so closely on this whole thing with Jody, like the hypocrisy of this guy who's a feminist and fighting for Native rights, when he just like, he tells her to break the law, and with regards to this case, and she wouldn't, and then he fires like a a female First Nations like cabinet member.
Well, he moved her appointment and then she resigned.
Yeah, but I kind of, that's what that could be called, like, with according to labor, but I would call that constructive dismissal, really. Like, it's just...
Yeah. The biggest thing is that after doing so, like, is that he has, essentially thrown her under the bus and invoked, client privilege so that she can't talk about it.
Yeah.
So that way, like, he's essentially only giving his side of the story and forbidding her from giving her side.
It's a great way to control the narrative, though, right?
It is effective.
I mean, these guys, they swore up and down they're going to do like open and transparent government, but at the same token, they also promised they do fact-based and science-based legislation coming through. But we can talk about the town halls on firearms control and everything else. It's just obviously just another failed election promise, I guess, more than anything else.
Yeah, we're getting some nice YouTube feedback. Alex is concerned about our leader, and he thinks that we should maybe perform a wellness check on 24 Sussex Drive.
Good old wellness checks.
Yeah.
I thought he was talking about Andrew.
I'm kind of worried about him too. Jesus. Wellness checks for everyone.
Well, it says to drink up, it's Butt's Day in Canada, so I mean, maybe it's just the new holiday name.
Yep. So our next story from the CBC, the Conservative Party reverses course on trust and now says the MP didn't leak list to firearms group. So, I think it was like, when was that? In June of 2017, Conservative MP Brad Trost was accused of leaking a list of Conservative Party members to the National Firearms Association so that they could mail them like mailings and information that could. And
this was part of during the conservative leadership campaign. All of a sudden, people that had registered for the Canadian Conservative Party received a whole bunch, started receiving mailers and contacts from the NFA, and so that's where it came out that they had illegally acquired the conservative membership information.
Which begs the question: was the NFA just too lazy to go on the parliamentary website and just start emailing spam to them anyways if they wanted to?
Well, they were sending physical mailers. It's hard to email physical things, but
yeah.
But even then, I mean, so they go on the parliamentary website and just, no cost item to mail something to Parliament, right? So you can mail it to every MP you want.
No. They weren't mailing it to MP. That's where I'm just confused with your comment there. No, they're mailing to the conservative, like writing members, like party members.
Okay.
Like,
no, I hadn't heard this before, so.
The party.
Oh, okay. No, I hadn't heard this before, so.
Yeah. So yeah, the Conservative Party, it says here in the article, used a practice called salting. So like they slightly alter certain amounts of information, so that when that list gets used, like maybe there's slight changes in names or maybe false names or something like that. But it's just like when those names are used specifically, then like what source it's coming from. But what I didn't really seem to remember this at the time, but he was ordered to pay a $50,000 fine with an additional $22,000 to cover legal costs. Like that's pretty heavy-handed for something for which they really had like no evidence. Like you don't know.
So, I mean, I wouldn't say no evidence. They had some circumstantial evidence. So the lists that were given out to all of the candidates were slightly different. This was good track this type of thing if this were to happen. And so the list of membership that the NFA had was the copy that Trost's campaign had received. And it doesn't say it in this article. There was a tie between a higher up person, like at the NFA, with a higher up person that was also.
Oh, okay.
So there was like, it's the NFA was working for your campaign. It was your copy of the one that came out. Therefore, we believe it was your campaign that leaked this information. So it was, I mean, although they didn't have, maybe they didn't have the actual, the email coming from here to there or something like that. Like the circumstantial evidence against him was pretty damning.
And I guess that's just, the responsibility that comes with leadership. Like I was wondering why they specifically, like you can't specifically prove that Trost himself decided to do this and did it. Like, but I guess that's, that's shit goes uphill kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess it's the responsibility of leadership, right? Like So yeah, I forget the exact who it was and the thing, but that's my recollection, at least, of when we talked about this the first time, was that there was I think it was like a lawyer or something like that. That was the guy for the NFA was also like working on like one of the high ups on his campaign.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, it was judged that there was insufficient evidence to conclude that Trost was the source of the leak, and there was also a non-compliance ruling that was overturned. So, Conservative Party of Canada and the Trost campaign have come to a settlement with regards to financial aspects of the decision, and that's that, I guess. But however, he's not like going to be representing the Conservatives in the next election. I think he's kind of like a dirty word at this point. So
yeah. So it looks like it just reading some of the findings of this article. It looks like the crux came down to they were not, obviously, because they were provided that list. They clearly weren't the only people that had access to that list, and therefore it could have came from the other party.
Yeah. It was poorly salted.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a nice one. The Ass Man Strikes Back.
Didn't we have a Seinfeld episode like this way back in the 90s?
Yeah, that was a good episode.
100%.
Yeah.
The proctologist license plate.
That's right. Well, there's like a family of ass mans in this province, getting famous over this stuff.
Anyone want to take the lead on this one?
Sure, I'll take care of it.
Okay.
So there's a guy named his last name is Assman, literally, but it's pronounced Osman. So Dave Osman in Melville, Saskatchewan, he basically had asked to just put his last name, which happened to be spelled Assman. Asked if he put it on his license plate. They said it was rude or offensive, so they would not allow it on his license plate. So he decided to emblazon it on the back of his tailgate in 65-point font and got a personalized decal made up that said "Ass Man" across the back of the plate. And of course, this isn't the first ass man from Saskatchewan to make the headlines. Back in the day, David Letterman had a running gag with Dick Assman out of Regina, who constantly had Dick Assman jokes on the Letterman show for about must have been 6 months there for a while. I think he finally ended up getting him on the show too, didn't he?
I don't
recall that.
I think so. And then
I don't know a Dick Assman.
But the thing is, again, if the guy wants to put his last name on, I mean, I don't understand how people could really be offended by that. The fact that is his last name, and various people get offended by various things, right?
Jesus, he's been trying to get this license plate since 1990s, since the 90s.
Well, it's probably the same person working in the same office. He's got to spread his wings a bit, probably. Yeah. But I mean, the fact is that if you can get people to change their driver's license from male to female, like Lauren Southern did, I mean, you wouldn't think that this would be such a big deal anymore. Maybe that's just how he identifies himself. Maybe that's his nickname, is the Ass Man or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, Osman. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not even like how he chooses to identify himself. It's also like how he, that is his legal name.
So I have to say, I don't know. Did we actually say what he did?
Yeah, at the very beginning, I mentioned that he put the big decal on the back of his pickup truck.
Yeah, yes, basically, It looks like a large Saskatchewan license plate.
Yeah, so that's what I like. I like is that he didn't just put like "Ass Man" across the back. Like he actually recreated a giant license plate as a decal for his tailgate of his truck. Saskatchewan.
8 times as big.
Yeah,
it's good.
And really, all he's doing is displaying ownership of his truck. He's not doing anything wrong. It's his truck.
Is this your truck? I don't see your name on it.
Oh, yes, you do.
Oh, it's right there. Just a second.
Yeah, so like, a bit of a hat tip for him today anyway.
Yeah, good for Dave Assman.
Like, you have to have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
But I don't think government drones are issued senses of humor when they get to work in the office there.
Yeah, I mean, like, do they take it from you? Like, I don't understand how.
Well, it's kind of like when you become a customs agent, you get surgically removed or something. I think it's part of the job agreement. I don't know. It's just.
Probably the lighting. Special lighting in government offices.
The current scrambles your brain or something with a fluorescent ballast there.
Yeah, combines with the particular strain of fluoride in the water.
Yeah, I guarantee they have the fluoridated water in the buildings for sure.
So it's strong enamel, though.
Dang strong. Shame about those frogs, though.
Yeah. Yeah, the frogs love musical theater.
Well, we're getting definitely a theme for this show. I don't know. We're going to have to change course a bit or something, aren't we?
Yeah, it's the Ass Show.
Hey, show title right there.
There we go. Ass. Oh, shit. Okay. Our next article, this comes to us from the Financial Post. It's a guaranteed basic income sounds great until you see the details. And it's like, I got to disagree with them right off the bat. It never sounded great. We always understood that taxation is theft.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like that's why I wore the shirt today, just because this it says taxation is theft.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan podcast the other day too. Yeah. Try and give this like open mind. I want to hear this. The guy actually started off and he made a lot of good points about like an economic crisis that we're heading for with automation, with like a lack of jobs. And also I'm like, yep, these are legitimate concerns. These are legitimate issues that as a society we're going to need to address. But then when it came to the whole basic income side of things, the whole premise was that, we would give, $2,000 a month to people that aren't already getting government assistance. If you're getting government assistance in excess of $2,000 a month, then you don't get anything. And everybody else gets up to gets their $2,000 a month. And essentially he was paying for that out of a VAT, like a value added tax on every dollar made in that country. So so his concept of this was, well, then it just comes out of the big corporations' budgets. Like it just price. Like he completely missed the inflationary effect of doing something like that. And then they're just going to pass that on and everyone can afford it because they're getting $2,000 a month extra.
No.
Like it's the whole I like to talk about basic income without the inflationary effects. It's like, okay, sure, if you ignore sort of the feedback loop of the economy, then I guess you can try to make an argument for it. But as soon as you put the reality of how the economy works, you're fucked.
Just like fighting for 15, same idea.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is when you think about things like that, like if you go back to that guy's plan where he's talking about basic income unless you're already getting social assistance. So you give everybody $2,000 except for the people that are on social assistance. Then we have inflation. Everybody is relatively unaffected because they're getting the extra $2,000. But the people that are the most affected are the people that are on are on social assistance now.
Yeah.
Because now they're $2,000 a month poorer than everybody else.
Yeah, so this was they're basically saying that a study done. Milton Friedman made a proposal in 1962 about this, and they basically said that the end effect would be that like a guaranteed income in Canada would affect the average household of like 2.5 people, like roughly $15,000 a year.
I was also told the gun industry back in the 90s was only going to cost about, what, $2 million or something? And it seems they were a little off on that, too.
Yeah, and it would cut crime.
That's true. Yeah. No, I mean, I think the whole Friedman school is kind of warped in general. So, I mean, anything that he proposed, I'm not a fan of right off the bat.
Oh no, I'm mistaken. This was there'd be at least a $15,000 per household credit, like to each household. But the net result, I think, was that they were saying that it would raise income taxes for most Canadians by about 50%. So
you just got to pay your fair share.
Yeah, you greedy bastards, you heartless, greedy bastards. So, and it's February, so everyone probably has, a very good indication of like how much taxes they already pay. So just like, add half of that again, and that's what
their
your
income
new tax would be. Yes.
Not to mention all their sales tax, fuel tax, licensing fees.
Property tax.
Yep, harmonized sales taxes. Vice taxes, such as alcohol and
Echo fees.
fees, yes.
Alcohol tax, pay a lot in that one.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, guaranteed basic income sounds pretty expensive.
Sounds a lot like communism.
Yeah. So our next article, the Ontario minister said to Hydro One when they're talking about CEO pay that this is not a negotiation. So this Hydro One is looking for a new, CEO to replace the last one that Doug Ford got rid of, and they're saying that they're kind of dictating to Hydro One what the CEO salary and incentives should total. And Hydro One doesn't really agree with that.
Which sounds a lot like a negotiation.
Yes, it does sound like a negotiation, but like so if the Ontario Energy Minister isn't going to negotiate, then they're just like they're saying that incentives and salaries should go no higher than 1.5 million per year. And the last I checked, I think the average wage in Ontario was like $47,000. But
what I don't understand is like this intense need for a high-paid CEO at what basically amounts to a crown corporation, when they've got a guaranteed customer base who are locked into a single server at a fixed rate. It's not like he has to innovate to find new customers or anything else. Pretty much every customer on board signs up to them.
Yep, we're fish in a barrel. Like it's a government mandated monopoly. There's only one real supplier in Ontario of hydro.
So I'm pretty sure
as far as I'm concerned.
This whole ship
you can't.
Yeah, this whole ship could carry on with a captain, no problem.
Yeah, he's not going to reinvent the wheel. Like I can't go change hydro suppliers. Like I'm kind of stuck with Hydro One. So
the whole thing doesn't make sense, but anyway, now you're worth the effort on that one.
But the last I heard, like the CEO of Quebec's hydro was only making like $800,000 a year. So it's just like, I don't know why you think Ontario deserves to get like $2.8 million a year in incentives and salary.
Probably lost in translation somehow. I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's just the above.
Yes.
Yeah. Any government or CEO basically in that province.
I'm wondering if the CEO of Ontario Hydro is that the amount they want? It's the $2.8 million that they want annually. Is that before or after we get a guaranteed income and in his or her income taxes goes up like 50%?
Oh, probably just like a MP, probably just not affected by income tax.
Okay, I would hope not.
Probably just more worried about trying to pay his hydro bill.
Yeah.
Have you seen those rates?
Yeah. You know how expensive it is to live in this province? We can't attract talent here.
Yeah.
But don't worry, they have a debt retirement charge. That problem would disappear soon enough.
Yeah.
So Hydro One's proposing target CEO compensation of 2.475 at the maximum of 2.7, and proposing compensation of 1.85 for executive vice presidents and up to 875 for vice presidents. How many executives do you need for a company that has no competition?
Well, it depends on how many of your cronies you can get jobs for them. That's how many you need. And maybe plus just one more.
I'd love to see their
option.
agenda.
No competition.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a bunch of a payback for any help along the way for certain politicians. Seems like that's a good sinecure for them.
I get what you're saying though. It's kind of like you make hydro, yeah. You take how much it costs to make hydro. You decide on your profit that you want to make, and you just add that to it. And then you sell the hydro. You sell at enough money to create, to get all that money. And there's no place anyone can go. Not to mention, thanks to the wind government, we're giving them a lot of interest because they parked a quarter of our bills for a couple of years in the Hydro One's wallet. So that's going to come due soon, isn't it, Marty? Do you remember that deal they did? So like everyone was having trouble. There was outcry about like 2 years ago, year and a half ago, about the high price of hydro. So Wind made a deal with Hydro to drop our hydro rates. It wasn't even dropping our hydro rates. It was basically delaying our hydro. Yeah, it was basically Hydro One took on like a quarter or a third of our hydro bills and put it into account and is racking interest up on it until after the election. So I think that's supposed to come due in this year, isn't it?
I don't know exactly what you're talking about. The biggest thing that they did was they refinanced their debt. So they had they basically borrowed money to infrastructure, hydro plants, things like that. And then that was supposed to be paid off, within 10, 15 years kind of thing. And so a large portion of what you're paying in your bill is covering the cost of the infrastructure. So what they did was they refinanced those loans over a much longer period. So instead of being done in 10 years, they're refinanced over 30 years at 2% less. So instead we pay double the price what we would have paid, but we pay it over a longer period. So with the net result of it lowered lowers this month's bill by a small percentage, but you spread that out over much longer future.
I thought, but I was talking about Wind's Fair Hydro Plan.
That was what that's did.
That's the Fair Hydro Plan? Okay. All right.
Interning right now.
See, I thought that they took 25% of our hydro bills and just put it, delayed it, and put it in an account where Hydro One could charge us interest on it. So not only were they making whatever money they wanted to, but they got also gather interest on it by
Yes, okay. I have the article here, CBC News. I'll send it in the chat quickly. You guys can skim it, same as me. Yeah, so we're both right here. So this is the 26 billion borrowed through OPG, not being counted on the province's books, but that debt rate is being done through the next 30 years as part of their financing.
Well, kicking the can down the road, that's just a government special, though, right? I mean, that's just what they do.
Yeah.
And the best part is because she lost the election, now she can blame it on somebody else when the big bill comes due.
Have you read Hoppe?
Hans Urban?
Yeah.
Actually, no, I got a copy of it given to me in German, but I read very slowly in German, so it's going to take a while.
That's better than me. I don't read in German at all. I got a friend who told me I should learn it. But yeah, it's basically he wrote Democracy, the God That Failed, and the basic premise was that in a monarchy, you try to take care of your country because you want to hand that off to your successor, which is usually your son or your family member. But with a democracy, you just want to get in, make as big of an impact as you can in 4 or 8 years, and then get the hell out. And then you just wash your hands of it, and you have your golden parachute pension. So
kind of sounds like the communist plan of writing 2 letters. Did you ever hear that one?
No.
Okay, so back when Stalin, I think it was, there was this running joke that basically said when he took over, quote unquote took over. Anyway, he was told, here's 2 letters. So if you get into trouble, open the first letter, and all your problems will be solved. So sure enough, he gets into some big scandal, and he opens up the first letter and says, blame everything on your predecessor. So sure enough, he does that. Works like a charm. The media gets off his back. The whole works. He says, "Oh, that worked like a charm, man. That's gonna be great." So he says, "I can't wait to see what the second letter says." So sure enough, he gets into the scandal a few years later, and he says, "Well, it's time to open the second letter." Opens up and says, "Write 2 letters." That's about it, because that's all you can do.
Yeah, well, we're not going to solve Ontario Hydro this evening. However, we can discuss the chair-throwing bitch of Toronto.
So actually, I have to admit I hadn't heard this one till tonight, but I was just watching the video and we were sitting there chit-chatting. Out of curiosity, did she have no idea that she was going to get caught on this one?
To be honest, with that kind of a video, if you're either like stupid, which she could very well be, or being caught was her intention. Like she just needs her like 15 minutes of fame, no matter how it turns out,
I think she has no concept of consequences for her action or personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm. I guess we should go back and like preface this with the 19-year-old woman threw 2 chairs off a 45th story balcony onto a busy downtown Toronto street. And filmed it, and it was posted online, and it quickly became viral. And you can just Google chair throwing woman, and you'll get the video. So,
like, either she figures life's a video game or whatever, but I mean, the internet never forgets. But I mean, to do something that dumb and then record it for posterity's sake is just ridiculous. Well, at least you're making the prosecutor go.
Yeah, so the chairs went down the 45-story drop and landed near the front entrance of the towering condo, but there was no reports of injuries. So she made a brief court appearance Wednesday, was released on $2,000 bail, and was ordered to live with her mother. That's some punishment. I'm not kidding.
Bitch, that puts the fun in dysfunctional.
Yes. I'm gonna mute that.
I don't know. I mean, if you look this chick up, she's exactly what you'd expect. Like, I don't know. It's just, I think it's indicative of our society right now. Is no one's thinking about others. No one's thinking about consequences of their actions. No one's taking any responsibility for themselves or what they do. And this is just an example of that.
Well, it's a selfie generation. They're just all about them. They're not thinking about how it might affect somebody. Because I mean, if somebody was sitting in that front entranceway, got whacked with a chair from above, they're probably paralyzed for life or something at the least. And you're not even a second thought given to that. I mean, it's not like you can pull that chair back up halfway down, right?
Right.
Oh, so it turns out this was an Airbnb thing, which was a short-term rental of the apartment. And spokesman Ben Brett said that we remain outraged by the blatant disregard for community safety on display in the video. We have no evidence at this time to suggest that the accused had ever been an Airbnb user, but we have suspended the account of the guest with a reservation at the building pending further review. Look how you've angered Airbnb. Here's a nice quote from a friend. She's a bright girl, but sometimes she likes to hang out with people who like to get involved in the wrong things.
I didn't see anybody else in the video.
That also sounds like something that a bright girl does not do.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Bright girl, but he's a dumbass.
Bright girl. Always getting in shit.
You could almost say she's a bit of an ass.
Yeah.
We're going to carry on with the theme of the show.
There we go. And that brings us to my favorite article from the National Post. License a snowblower, city nails one operator and lays 100 other charges. So This is from Ottawa, and Ottawa received quite a bit of snowfall in the past week. I'm sure everyone saw some various things about that on the news and social media. And while someone was out blowing snow at 3 a.m., the owner of this snow blowing company, Kevin Jolly, was taken aback. Suddenly, there's urgent flashing lights on a high-end SUV, and which performed a U-turn in the middle of the street at night, and came around and gave them a $260 ticket for not having a city-issued numbered license plate on their snowblower.
Well, that is probably the most grievous offense you could do, is denying a local government tax revenue.
I know.
I mean, seriously. I mean, the city's licensing compliance unit was quite incensed about that whole thing. So, I mean, the fact they can support a whole unit with that revenue, that's impressive enough. Because I mean, he doesn't pay enough business tax or anything else, but you gotta get those fees for that snowblower license.
Yeah, I think this guy should be taxed, because anyone out blowing snow at 3 a.m. clearly has too much money that they don't know what to do with.
Well, it's a tax shelter, right?
Yeah, he's a wealthy 1%er out there. With an unlicensed snowblower, creating chaos, or trying to. But luckily, a city bureaucrat spotted it and issued them the fine to, at least get some revenue back in. So hopefully we can get maybe it'll help with an art installation, or maybe rainbow crosswalks. You could use that for all sorts of things. That tax money.
Can he pay extra for a vanity snowplow license? His ass man.
The ass blower.
No, ass plow.
The ass blower.
Yeah. Ass plow 1, ass plow 2. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh, it's so sad in so many worlds. Because what are they basically telling him to do? Is that if he doesn't have a snowblower in a proper paperwork completed, he should just stay home and not clear the streets. Which is basically where communism fails.
Yeah.
Well, he was told that any device that was used to move snow for profit must be licensed by the city of Ottawa. What? This is insane.
Yeah, it is insane.
So the way the bylaw is written, anything that can move snow requires a license.
I like this part. Officers check that operators have the appropriate insurance permits and are not creating a safety hazard by pushing snow onto the roadway, the city says. The city said it monitors snowplow operators every winter, and that officers check on crews between responding to a variety of overnight service calls.
Now, this would have never happened if you had taken the Ragnarok course and learned how to operate operationally.
Yes. Oh, shit. Oh, but there was a name of the city official. Anyway, the fine was withdrawn later, thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, the next morning or something like that, it said at 7 a.m. or something, he got a call. Well, yeah, could have probably, I guess, that morning, because he got the ticket at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
What was a city worker doing up at 7 a.m.? That's like 3 hours before he has to start work.
They're out in a high-priced, a high-end sport utility vehicle with a flashing light.
Well, he estimates he's worked 600 hours in the past 6 weeks. That's quite the white privilege this guy has.
Yeah,
he's a greedy bastard. He's trying to get as much money as he can. Yeah. Can you believe that?
Well, it was interesting. He said, license a snowblower, and they said it's because any device used to move snow or profit, as Marty said, had to be licensed by the city of Ottawa. And he said, what about my shovel? And it turns out that's precisely how the bylaw was written. Machinery and vehicles operated by those licensed companies are each required to have an orange snowplow contractor plate affixed to it. Said a response from Tanya McCumber, a program manager in the city's licensing compliance unit. So she's a program manager at the program's city license management, and she's out there trying to make sure that he pays his $261 fine so he can continue to work 600 hours in 6 weeks.
She's not the one that issued the ticket. She's just the one that was like for the
She
report.
she issued the report or the reply to the media. Yeah. But just for fun, every once in a while we have this thing called the Sunshine List, and I fired her name through it. Guess what she makes a year, Marty?
Program manager for the licensing compliance unit.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that she's on the Sunshine List means she makes at least 100,000.
Yeah, it kind of gives it away.
I was gonna say 100 and quarter.
Yeah. I'll just say she's on it. She did manage to squeak in onto it, so she's not making Hydro CEO money, but
a year, for the licensing compliance unit.
Yeah,
and she's probably not the head of it either. She's probably just a typical drone, right?
Yeah. And then they ended up dropping the fine anyway, so now she's earning that money without even collecting fines. So like, I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like she's not getting the fine money in. So then what's she getting paid for? Like, I'm glad the guy didn't get fined, but it's kind of like you can't win, and you know.
I also like that in terms of like at least the quotes in the article of the bylaw is that machinery and vehicles operated by those licensed companies are required to have it. So if it was an unlicensed company, he wouldn't be required to have a licensed snowblower.
Again, like how do they know he was operating commercially? He might have just been clearing his own. Whatever have you? Maybe he owns the mall. Maybe he owns the house. Whatever. So I mean,
he claims that he lived like I live here. This is my driveway lot.
Yeah. I'm the owner of the mall or whatever have you, right? So I mean, it'd be pretty easy to still say it's still mine.
Reminds me, I once posed a libertarian question over several beverages to someone, and I said, if you're in a room with a gun with one bullet and 2 meter maids, would you kill one who collected enough money and ticketed enough people to pay for their salary, or one who never ticketed anyone?
Ooh. Can I answer that one off air?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Anyway, I think that all about does the news. Does anyone else have anything they wanted to talk about? Anything that struck their fancy through the week?
No, I was kind of living in a cave all week, so this is all news to me, literally as of today.
Oh, Marty, did you want to bring anything up or?
No, I got nothing.
Okay.
The only thing I was going to go back to is an interesting comment from this article about the snowblower guy, is that they talk about how at a time when it's difficult to get a rapid response from bylaw about noise complaints or other common nuisances, they're complaining that they have time to bother this guy.
Well, that's easy because there's no revenue in a nuisance complaint.
No, but like we're basically saying that, like, oh, they don't have time to do these other useless things because they're doing that useless thing. Like, just how about you just say that they're doing a useless job and just get rid of them instead of complaining that don't have time to do your other useless task.
Yeah, they're kind of missing the point. Here's
That would be the ideal, but the government never gets smaller unless there's a revolution.
Like that guy is offering a solution with his snow removal company, like to businesses so that they can create money and generate taxes, and he didn't have the right orange plate on his snowblowers. So. I guess that takes us to rapid fire feedback. Rapid fire feedback this week is neither rapid fire nor feedback. Well, it could have been, but I don't know how to check it. So please tune in next week when hopefully Andrew isn't feeling too weak to host the show. So Ian, where can everyone find you?
Well, you can email directly at theislandretreat@gmail.com. You can also find me on the other CPP, Canadian Prepper Podcast, is on iTunes and my YouTube channel, which is also called The Island Retreat.
And Marty, where can everyone find you on the interwebs?
I don't really have a presence on the interwebs. You can find the show at facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
Okay. And I don't know if Rod Giltack was busy today. I think I forgot to send him the link.
Actually, I have to apologize because I keep bogarting his spot on the show, and like I just beat him to the punch. That's all, and I do have to send my apologies to Rocky this time. So,
all right. So you can find me at facebook.com/TimsGoodT-shirts, and I would like to say good evening, and I want to remind you that you are the true north, strong and free.